Now we're at this point where you have had this bout, and now you're talking about the way the fix is often in the boxing game. For one, I'd like to ask, at what point did you realize, because you came up and you were fighting and all that, you were in the boxing game since you were a kid. At what point did you come to understand that the boxing game is really crooked like it is?
When you have to go back. You have to go back to San Diego. I just got out of prison. I received a phone call from Scott Woodworth. He's one of the big promoters that worked for Don King that was able to get the $1 million for Orlin Norris against Mike Tyson's suit. Mm-hmm. And he put me up in the Catamaran in San Diego in the penthouse suite. I was only out maybe 2 days. And
This is after you'd gotten bailed out.
This is why I'm on bail.
Okay.
And I said, man, I haven't been swimming in 40 years. So I went and bought some shorts. I went down to the pool from my penthouse suite. And I'm like, damn, I'm 41 years old. I'm going to fight again. But, they said, we're going to give you 5 deals. It'll come out to $50,000 plus what we make. And you'll get an expenditure and you'll get... I said, okay, cool. And they said, don't worry about it. Your fights are fixed. So I go to the pool and I see these 2 gentlemen with Hawaiian shirts and shorts, and they're wearing black socks. I knew they weren't there taking the sun. And they sat next to me and they said, we know who you are. And we've been bugging Bob Arum and Top Rank's phone. We know that your fight is fixed. If you work with us to solve fixed fights, Senator John McCain will name the boxing bill after you. I said, well, I'm good. They said, you're going back to prison. Your appeal's on hold. If you work with us, we'll guarantee that you won't go back to prison. And we'll give you $20,000 a month plus clothing and plus housing. And I was like, well, what are we talking here? What do I have to do? You have to show that your fight's fixed. I go, but if you have it on the audio, you know that my fight's fixed. I took their card, waited a few days. I told Scott Woodward about it. I called Bones Adams, the champ. At the time was the featherweight champion of the world, Clarence Bones Adams. I said, hey, dude, they're coming after fixed fights. He said, fuck them, take them for a ride. They introduced me to a guy named Big Frankie. Big Frankie was a NYPD. He had just busted the Gambino crime family. He was about 6 feet tall, about 450 pounds. And I met him in Vegas. He says, I'm getting close to retirement. Fuck the FBI. If we get caught, it's on you. They're not going to go to bat for you. And when it's over, they're going to send you back to prison. So you make the decision.
Oh, he told you that?
Straight out.
Okay.
So for the next 2 years, I bamboozled the FBI for close to $1 million in cash.
Ooh.
And never gave them nothing. Nobody ever to this day has been arrested or gone to jail. I used to bang on the fighters' doors going, FBI, let me in. And me and Frankie would walk in. All the boxers knew that what was going on. It wasn't a secret. Word. Frankie was a dirty NYPD detective who was on his last days, and he let me run Ramshot in Vegas. In fact, if you go to the Gangster Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, I'm in it. I saw myself in the Gangster Hall of Fame about 3 months ago, and I was like, oh shit, that's me. That's
crazy.
Yeah. And so what it was
Operation Matchbox?
That was, no, not Matchbox. See, that's what people need to know. There's only one reel in boxing, and that's Dazin in Europe, Eddie Hearn. That fool is so straight, he don't know how to be crooked. Where Top Rank, brother, they hired me. They hired me. I would go to fights all over the U.S., and I used to walk the losers in the corner. What do you mean?
Wow.
I would walk the losers in the corner that were losing on purpose. And I was so drunk and high and bored that I would bet the Cowboys in the audience, what round do you want them to get knocked out in?
Oh, shit.
And I said, just pick a number. They go 2. And I go to the paisa and say, la dos. And the paisa would get in there. In the second round, he'd look for a soft place to lay down. And I'd get my beer and he'd win his money. And I'd do this for the whole fight. I did it in every city. Does that answer your question, my brother?
Yeah. That's crazy. I'm sure a lot of people's minds are going to be blown. You know, I got friends who were like, "Yo, come to Vegas, man. We're going to the fight, man. We're going to fight. Come to Vegas." And you know, this is something that has been going on for years and years and years. You know, for like all my life, like cats are like, yo, come to the fight, come to the fight. I didn't go back in the days because I was made to understand that the feds would be there taking pictures and seeing who's shaking whose hand. My mother made me understand that as a kid. So I didn't go for that reason then, right? And then as I got older, then I was like, I'm not gonna go watch that foolishness. I'm cool. I'm not spending $5,000 to sit up front and so
yeah, but see,
somebody
those
can look
fights,
at me.
those fights aren't the ones. No, it's not those ones, bro. When you have fights that are structured, people need to understand this. When you talk about the big fights, when you talk about the De La Hoyas, the Manny, the Mayweather, those fights aren't fixed. Those are true
Well,
champions.
I'm glad to hear it because I'm saying
no.
if those would have to be like the WWF got some talented people,
No.
you know, who do some really extraordinary athletic things, but for those level of fights to be fixed would be
No.
crazy to me.
No, then please.
So I'm glad to hear that.
No, please let me explain.
Mhm.
It's getting to that journey. Understand this. I could take any human being right now that's healthy, and I could take him down to Tijuana in Mexico, and I could have him fight 20 taxi drivers in a 2-week period, and I could get his record 20-0. What was happening is Top Rank, who I was working for at the time, would have fighters, their opponents. Their life is just put the gloves up, and when you feel find a corner. That's what it was about. It wasn't about, it was about over under 6 because people will make their money betting on over or under 6. But it's not the big fights. It's the little fights that get you there. It's fighting in Omaha. It's fighting in some, you know, two light stop city to get the record to where your promoter wants it to be. Because you have to remember, you're not working. I'm paying you to train. I'm paying your kids. I'm doing your wife's hair and nails every week. So you will do what I tell you to do. And if it comes down to you have to lose tonight, you're going to lose tonight.
Right.
That's what it is. It's not the big fights. It's like the fight coming up this Saturday. There's no way on God's earth Gervonta Davis loses to Ryan. Ryan's a product of the internet. He's a pretty boy. Gervonta Davis is a beast from Baltimore. He ain't got no conscience. He's an animal.
Yep.
So what's going to happen is he's going to devastate this guy. But then the other side in me says, well, I know about the Holyfield and the Tyson. I know about, well, what happens if Ryan wins? Well, let's just say Ryan wins, then the rematch, another $25 million, then the rubber match, another. So there's more money in Ryan winning than in Davis winning. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
But you don't know if the fix is in because it's at a level that you and me cannot be privy to. But I know that I fixed many fights. You know, I used to go to Costa Rica with an envelope from Top Rank Boxing to Gino Da Vinci, and he had 2bet.net and goldenpalace.com, and I would go to Costa Rica and I'd give him the envelope with all the fixed fights, and he would make the market on the offshore gambling to where he made money under 6, over 6. Because remember, my brother, you don't bet on who wins the fight. Your money's bet on if it goes over or under. I don't give a fuck who wins. Is it going over 6 or under 6? I say Gervonta Davis under 8. He already said he's going to knock him out in the 7th or 8th. So I'll put a G note on that because I believe this kid is a thug.
Right.
And if it ain't fixed, he'll smoke this fool. But in the ones fights that I could control, those are the fights that I can control. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, my brother?
Yeah, yeah, I believe that does, man. I think that puts a lot into perspective. Again, about how that game actually works. There's too
Brother,
much
I
money.
just Saturday that just passed. Excuse me, just Saturday that just passed. I'm sitting with my boys at my house. They go, do it, champ. Take the guy on the left. Why? I go, because his promoter, Eddie Valdez, is related to, and they're signed with Top Rank. And sure enough, next fight, take the guy on the right. Why? He's making a comeback. He already lost twice for the title. His is going away fight. They're giving him $1 million and they guarantee him the win. I sit with my friends and tell every win, every fight. That's how fixed boxing is.
That is crazy.
It's real. It's real.
That is, and it's been this way, huh? Historically.
It's been like that since the 20s, since the 30s at Madison Square Garden with Doug Goldstein, and boxing's been run by organized crime. The only difference with Top Rank and Bob Arum is he was Attorney General for President Kennedy, and he has a free reign to do anything he wants to do.